You won't believe what happened at the church that day. A mother, heartbroken and humiliated, was forced out of her own daughter's baptism by people who once called her family. But what no one expected was that someone would rise, someone with power, kindness, and a secret past that would change everything. Watch till the end, because this story may just touch your heart in a way you didn't expect. The air smelled of lavender and lilies that morning, flowers that Maria had personally arranged around the baptism altar the night before. Her hands still bore the tiny scratches from tying the stems into neat little bundles. It didn't matter to her. Nothing did, except that her daughter, little Emma Rose, would have the most beautiful baptism possible. She wanted her baby girl to know, one day, that no matter how broken things were between her parents, her arrival into the world had always been sacred. But Maria had no idea what was coming. She stood outside St. Clement's Church in a simple blue dress, clutching her tiny silver cross necklace, one her grandmother had passed down to her when she was just 10. Her ex-husband, Daniel, had already arrived, walking in confidently with his new wife Melissa on his arm and his mother trailing just behind. The three of them didn't even glance her way. Maria felt invisible, but she stayed silent. She had fought hard for this day. She wasn't going to cause a scene. Inside, guests were already seated. The priest was preparing the font, flipping gently through the pages of his Bible. Maria held Emma close, the baby swaddled in white satin with a tiny lace bonnet, eyes blinking innocently at the glinting stained glass light above. "Let's go in, sweetheart," Maria whispered, walking toward the entrance. But then, she was stopped. Melissa stepped in front of her with a smirk that didn't even attempt to hide its cruelty. "I think you misunderstood, Maria. This is a family event." Maria blinked, confused. "I am her mother. You were invited as a guest. Not to walk her down the aisle, not to stand at the altar. Daniel is her legal guardian now. And we, his family, are handling things." Maria's voice cracked. "Emma is my daughter. I gave birth to her." Daniel's mother, Lorraine, appeared at her side. "And you lost her in court, didn't you, Maria? That's the law. You walked away once, remember? Let us do what's best for her." Maria felt the weight of her past crush her chest. She had made mistakes. She had left Daniel when things turned violent, when his anger became unbearable, but in doing so, she'd walked right into a custody nightmare. She had no money, no lawyer, no support, and Daniel's family had used it all against her. But she never gave up on Emma. "I'm not leaving," Maria said quietly. Her hands trembled as she hugged her baby tighter. Then Daniel stepped forward. "Then we'll call security." The words shattered her. Tears pooled at the edge of her eyes, but she blinked them back. She looked down at Emma, who cooed softly, unaware of the tension surrounding her. "I just want to watch her be baptized," she whispered. Melissa crossed her arms. "You can stand at the back if you don't make a scene." But when Maria tried to enter, she was blocked again. 2 security guards had arrived. Daniel must have called them earlier. "Ma'am, we've been instructed that this is a private ceremony," one of them said stiffly. Maria couldn't believe what was happening. "Instructed by who?" she cried. "I'm her mother. I carried her for 9 months. She's not on the approved list," Melissa interrupted coldly. And just like that, Maria was pushed out. She stumbled onto the church steps, clutching her child, weeping silently as the grand oak doors slammed shut behind her. The sounds of organ, music began moments later, laughter, joy, and she sat there alone, her heart broken in two. Minutes passed. A few people had witnessed what happened but turned away. No one wanted to get involved. Until one man did. A tall figure in a tailored suit stepped out of a sleek black car. He had arrived late, glancing at the church from across the street before spotting the scene unfolding on the steps. He walked toward her, his expression unreadable. "Are you all right?" he asked, kneeling down beside her. Maria quickly wiped her face, humiliated. "I'm fine. Please don't. Just go inside. You're probably with them." He looked at her more closely, his voice softer this time. "I'm not with anyone. I just came because I got an invitation from Emma's father. But now I'm not sure I want to be here." Maria clutched Emma closer. "They forced me out, said I wasn't family." The man was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at the church doors. "My name is Alex," he said finally. "Alex Navarro." Maria blinked. That name sounded familiar. Very familiar. "I own the company Daniel works for. He's just been hired as a manager in our finance department." Her eyes widened. "I had no idea he treated the mother of his child like this." Maria said nothing. Her heart was thudding in disbelief. Alex stood up. Wait here. And then, he walked inside. It was quiet for a few moments. Then loud voices. The organ stopped. People began to murmur. Suddenly, the doors burst open. And Alex returned, this time holding a microphone in one hand. This woman, he announced to the entire congregation, is the mother of the child you are about to baptize. And what just happened outside is not just cruel, it's unacceptable. All eyes turned toward Maria. She will be here, Alex said. Not as a guest, as Emma's mother, or I will personally end all business with anyone involved. The silence was deafening. Daniel's face had gone pale. Melissa looked like she had swallowed her own tongue. And the priest, who had overheard the chaos, gently nodded toward Maria. Alex offered her his hand. Shall we? Maria rose, trembling, and walked back inside, this time with Emma in her arms, and 100 eyes watching in awe. She didn't know who this man was, or why he had helped her. But something told her, this was just the beginning. That day, those steps outside the church, Maria would never forget them. Not because of the humiliation, but because something unexplainable, something rare, had happened. Someone saw her pain, and stood up. In the days following the baptism, Maria's life changed in ways she never expected. Alex Navarro, billionaire entrepreneur, tech genius, and the kind of man who usually stayed out of personal drama, suddenly became a constant presence in her life. Not out of pity, not out of curiosity, but because something in Maria's eyes had shaken something deep inside him. I've seen cruelty, Alex said as he sat across from her at a small diner 2 days later. But what they did to you, that was abuse, emotional violence. And I don't want to be associated with people like that. Maria stirred her coffee quietly. She didn't know what to say. She was used to people walking away from her pain, not walking into it. Why did you help me, Alex? She finally asked. He looked at her gently. Because someone once stood up for me when I was a child. I never forgot it. I owe the world that same courage. A long silence passed between them. Then Maria spoke again. You know, I used to dream about this kind of protection. Not money, just someone believing me. He smiled faintly. Well, I believe you. And I don't plan to disappear. From that day on, Alex kept his word. He found her a new apartment, modest, but safe. He enrolled her in a career development course at one of his foundations. He even arranged legal counsel to revisit the unjust custody ruling that had left her with barely any visitation rights to Emma. But perhaps the most surprising change wasn't about Maria at all. It was Emma. The baby, barely a year old, began to flourish in the newfound peace of her mother's home. Every hour Maria spent with her was now filled with songs, giggles, tiny new words, and clumsy steps on the carpet. And every visit Alex made, whether it was to drop off groceries or join them for dinner, Emma lit up. She likes you, Maria said one evening as she watched Alex lift Emma into the air. She's extraordinary, he said softly. So is her mother. Maria felt something flutter in her chest. She quickly turned away, but Alex didn't leave that night. He stayed, helping clean up, read Emma a story, and when the baby finally fell asleep, he sat with Maria on the old couch, both of them sipping lukewarm tea in silence. You must think I'm broken, Maria said after a while. He shook his head. No, I think you've been through fire, and didn't let it destroy you. Her eyes glistened. No one's ever said that to me. I'm not like everyone, he replied. Days turned into weeks, and rumors started to spread. Daniel heard that his boss was getting close to Maria. Melissa raged. His mother called it manipulation. But Alex didn't care. He called Daniel into his office and looked him dead in the eye. You'll treat the mother of your child with dignity, he warned. Or you'll find yourself jobless and blacklisted by every partner I've got. Daniel had no choice. He backed off, and slowly, Maria's visitation rights were expanded. Emma began spending weekends at her mother's home, and the court, upon reviewing Daniel's hostile family dynamics, reopened the custody case. Maria's lawyer, provided by Alex's legal team, was fierce. In court, Maria stood taller than ever before. I never abandoned my child, she said clearly. I left an abusive household to protect her. I've worked every day to be worthy of her love, even when I had nothing. And I will never stop fighting for her. The judge looked moved, and weeks later, Maria was granted joint custody, with primary weekend care and holiday rights. It wasn't full custody yet, but it was a start. And to Maria, it felt like winning the world. That night, She stood outside Emma's room, watching her sleep with her tiny stuffed bear clutched in one hand. Alex stood behind her. "You did it," he whispered. "No," Maria said, tears in her eyes. "We did." Alex slowly reached for her hand. She didn't pull away, and for the first time in years, Maria smiled without fear. But life, as always, had one more test. Melissa didn't like losing. One stormy evening, she showed up at Maria's door, eyes red with rage. "I know what you're doing," she hissed. "You think you've won. But Alex doesn't love you. You're just a pity project." Maria stayed calm. "You need to leave. Daniel's my husband," Melissa barked. "And Emma will never be yours alone." Maria's voice didn't waver. "Emma will always be mine. Because I chose her even when the world didn't choose me." And just then, Alex appeared behind her. "She's not a project," he said coldly. "She's the strongest woman I've ever met. And if you show up here again, I'll file for harassment." Melissa went pale. She turned and fled into the night. Maria sank into the couch, shaken. Alex knelt beside her. "You shouldn't have to live like this," he whispered. "I'm used to it, but you shouldn't be," he said firmly. "Let me help you, for real this time." Maria met his eyes. "Why do you care so much?" Alex hesitated. Then slowly, he took out a photo from his wallet. It was old, faded. A woman with dark hair held a tiny boy in her lap, both smiling despite the worn-down porch they sat on. "My mother raised me alone," he said quietly. "My father left us when I was 5. My mother worked 3 jobs. She cleaned houses during the day, waited tables at night, and ran errands for people in between. She was kind, strong, but no one ever helped her." He paused. "She died before I made my first million. And every day since, I've wished I had done more for her. When I saw you on those church steps, crying, humiliated, holding your baby, I saw her." Maria's lip quivered. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," he whispered. "Just let me stay." And that night, Alex didn't leave. He stayed with Maria on the couch, arms around her as she cried. Not because she was weak, but because for the first time in forever, she felt safe. Months passed. Emma's second birthday came around. A tiny garden party filled with laughter, balloons, and joy. Daniel didn't show. Melissa sent a cold text. "We'll celebrate separately." Maria didn't care, because Alex was there, setting up the table, helping Emma blow out her candles, even getting frosting on his nose to make her laugh. As the sun set and the guests left, Maria stood at the edge of the garden watching Alex cradle Emma in his arms. "You know," she said softly, "you didn't just change my life." He looked up. "No, you changed hers." He looked down at Emma, whose tiny hand was wrapped around his thumb. "She changed mine too." Maria walked closer. "Do you ever wish things had been different? That we'd met earlier?" He smiled. "Maybe, but I believe everything happens when it's meant to." She nodded. "And what's meant to happen next?" He reached for her hand again. "I think," he said gently, "we build a life together. For Emma, for us, for every scar that brought us here." Maria's eyes welled with tears again, but this time, not from pain. From hope, from healing, from love. Sparkles the end sparkles. Heart, if this story touched your heart, please don't leave without liking the video, sharing it with someone who needs this message, and subscribing for more real, emotional stories like this one. Because sometimes, one act of kindness can change an entire life. Dizzy.